city and in our community. I was given this book to share. It's called Black American Series. It's by Dr. Regina Williams. It's called the Black American Series of Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm hoping that this book will shed, that we can shed some light on just the different people that came out of our city, and to share with you all more knowledge about our past, our present, and our future. I had an opportunity to share with some people today, and we were talking about some of the great athletes that came out of Cleveland. Now, some of those athletes you all know by name and by some of the things that they've done in the past. One of the greatest athletes of all times that came out of Cleveland, Ohio, we all know him, is Jesse Owens. And his historic event was just winning everything in Munich, in Germany, and how he affected Hitler at the time, and how they felt that they were superior to, they thought they were the superior race until Jesse Owens let them know. Another thought that came to my mind was I have to mention some of these athletes that are in our surrounding areas as well. We have Antoine Whitfield played football. Powers that I believe he played football too. Jason Taylor played football. Steph Curry, born in Akron, Ohio. Charles Gladman, a football player. Nate Thurman, a basketball player. Jimmy Lash, an ex-NFL player. And to mention, my son stepped in on me, surprised me. Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mom, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I would like you to share your thoughts on some of these great athletes, at least the GOATs and their time frame or period that they were the greatest of all times. I know you can hear the one singing in the background voice, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest.
Yeah, you got to talk about LeBron.
Uh-huh.
LeBron is definitely a legend. We still get to watch him play out in L.A.
Uh-huh.
And
Where
but
you come from?
from Akron.
Oh, okay, just
Akron, Ohio's finest.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so yeah, it's been a lot, but we've had a lot of basketball players. You said Nate Thurman. It was Jerome Lane.
Jerome Lane. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
been a lot. Rich history of athletes.
Rich history of athletes in the Cleveland and Akron area. I was talking to someone today, and they had mentioned one of the GOATs. I won't just talk about Akron, but I did want to talk about the history of African Americans in the genre of entertaining in athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy that was the boxer, was it Jack Johnson?
Jack Johnson. Mm-hmm.
Was he a GOAT in his time?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. He was ahead of his time. But he was the baddest man on the planet in the 20s.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But there was something about him that seemed to be controversial at the time?
Oh, a lot about him was controversial because he lived in the Jim Crow era. I think it's a really good documentary about him on PBS.
Okay.
Anybody can just look it up. But yeah, he was a champ for a long time. He broke the color barrier.
Oh.
He had to wait maybe 5-6 years to be able to have someone fight him because they refused to fight him. So he chased the guy all around the world, and yeah, I think he had the title for maybe like 10 years. He was a bad boy. Jack
What
Johnson.
about Joe Louis? Was he a GOAT in his era?
Definitely. The difference between Jack Johnson and Joe Louis is that Joe Louis was largely loved by the public because he won. His biggest fight was against a German fighter as well at the end of during the World War II era.
Okay.
So the America was able to rally around him.
Unsung heroes in boxing in our era would be Stokes. Is he from our area?
I think Michael Stokes is from a local kid. Yeah, for sure.
I thought Stokes was an acronym.
We have a guy that just was a world champion. His name is Sean Porter.
Uh-huh.
He's
From where?
Cleveland and Akron. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, and he was welterweight champion.
Another athletic genre that is big has to be track and field. So that leads us to our dude Jesse Owens, and then we had another Olympian, which was Harrison Dillard. He came out of Cleveland, and Cleveland used to have a lot of the high school sports. We excelled in a lot of high school sports that went and became pros. Let's talk about not the Indians, but the baseball world.
Okay.
Okay. Who's our big guys? Who's the GOATs in baseball? During their eras, talk about the era and who the was like.
For the Indians, in the 80s, we had a really good player named Joe Carter. And he was our best player for a long time, but the Indians were really bad. And he got traded to Toronto, and he won a couple World Series MVPs.
And in his time, they mentioned here Frank Robinson.
Frank Robinson, of course, yeah.
Larry Doty, and it said Luke Easter of the Cleveland Indians. So now we know what Luke Easter Park was from. Luke Easter, Cleveland Indians. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I think, too, that Indians had visitors that were outstanding black baseball players.
Oh, yeah, coming into the park.
Yeah.
I think back then it wasn't, but it was less teams. So,
Well, Satchel Paige played here.
oh, yeah, that is true. Because they used to have exhibition games with the Negro League before integration. Yeah.
And who else? What else? That we had a winning team not too long ago.
Oh, you talking about
Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny Lofton, Carlos Baerga.
I think they were brothers of color.
Yeah, a lot of Hispanic brothers.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Manny Ramirez,
Randy.
Dominican brother.
Okay, let me think. What's another? Basketball. Okay, it's more than just LeBron. So we've had give the whole. I think before the Cavs came, there was another team, wasn't it? Before they were the Cavaliers.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to mention some of the great Cavalier players.
Well, we had the great coach Lenny Wilkens. For a long time, he was the all-time winningest coach. And then Brad Daugherty, Ron Harper.
That era.
Yeah. We had Kevin Johnson play for us for a while. Larry Nance, first slam dunk champion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've had a thing all the way leading up to LeBron.
Okay, and wait a minute, Campy Russell. There was a winning team under.
Oh yeah, in the early '80s, '70s.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let me think what else we did real big in our sports world. Okay, let's talk about the athletes that are not so much known or that we do, but we excel in it once we get in it, which would be tennis and golfing. Please. Who are our greatest athletes? Who are our GOATs?
In tennis, I think maybe the best tennis player, regardless of gender, period, is probably Serena Williams. And you can't forget about her sister, Venus. We had Arthur Ashe. It's been a lot of great black tennis players. It was a couple of French guys. A guy named Zidane. I think he was the first. Long time ago.
Okay, and what about our GOATs for golfing?
Oh, we got Tiger.
Is he the only one? Is he the only
one.
black golfer that we ever had?
No, he's definitely not the only one, but he broke it through.
Okay, he broke the barrier and let us in.
He mainstreamed it.
But you know what? I was told by certain golfers that they were the ones that were teaching, like Mr. Isaiah. Remember when I used to take you guys out to the golf course? They were sharing with me like that guy, Patch Bender, the guy that the boy Will Smith played, Patch.
Patch Adams.
Not Patch Adams.
Oh, I know the movie you're talking about.
That they weren't actually allowed to golf on the course with the other people, but they actually were the ones that were the caddies and teaching them how
Yeah,
to
the local
get their
golf
game.
pros. Yeah.
Yeah, teaching them how to get their game on tight. Let me see some of our first. Oh gosh, cannot forget the Olympics. How do we excel in the Olympics? Just mention some moments in the Olympics that you can recall that are first for us.
I remember some of the breakaway stars because I grew up in the 80s, my 80s baby. So I remember Carl Lewis broke a lot of records.
Yes, they have him down.
What's the guy that Michael Johnson?
Michael Johnson was
With the gold shoes? Yeah,
Yes.
he was the first person to win the 200 and the 400 same year, broke the world record in both of them.
Okay.
We've had FloJo. What's the one that used to Edwin Moses.
Edwin Moses, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And her sister-in-law joined her. She went for the high jump.
Yeah.
She was a high jumper.
And she ran for a long time.
And let me think. Okay, what about that dream team that came through?
Oh, the basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Jordan,
They called
Charles
that the
Barkley.
truth.
Yeah,
They had
Magic.
never seen anything like it
Yeah, that was
in the world.
Yeah.
Who was on that team that you can recall? The first one.
Yeah, you had a Magic.
And that was controversial for Magic to come in because he was HIV positive.
Yeah, but he was already playing back in the NBA. So, but you had Magic, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler.
What made that such a unique thing? Because, I mean, what made it so huge? That's what I never
What
understood.
made it so huge is that traditionally in the Olympics, in basketball, there was an amateur thing with the
Okay.
United States. All the rest of the teams, they had pro leagues and they
Oh,
let
did
their
they?
pro players play. But we used to play with college players.
Oh.
So we started losing when international basketball got better and better. So when the Dream Team was the first team to let our pros play. So that was the first one with NBA players.
I'm going to come back to the thought of the black athlete. I want to know, as a person that doesn't necessarily know the impact of sports, what it means to us as a people, what is the impact do you think that it will have on our children?
On our children? I don't know. I mean, I think in America, if you go back through history, the first glimpse of kind of success that we was able to disperse to the masses is through entertainment. So there's always been a real, I don't know, there was a really good podcast I think I told you about on the 619 thing that the New York Times did that talked about minstrel shows and stuff like that. And so one of the first places that you began to visually see black people actually succeed in is in entertainment, whether it be singing, dancing, and sports as well. So I think that it's just in the psyche of America, kind of that it's a place where it's okay for black people to be able to excel and kind of supersede circumstances or whatever, and the whole society will be proud for you in certain instances, you know. And
So you think that sports plays a major role in feeling like you're successful as far as the kids striving toward entertainment, or do they see it as a way out?
I think people see it as a way out. I think exposure is super important.
Okay.
And so since in our society that, black society has been a lot poorer and a lot less privileged. And so I think that sports and entertainment is it's a thing that everyone knows across culture, and they almost assign it to black people. So
that's a good point, that it's been assigned to us to be good.
Yeah, to sing and dance and rap and do comedy, and I think that that podcast really went into it well, because it talks about the origins of American popular music. Mm-hmm. Because, like, all right, so let's say slave times. Mm-hmm. In slave times, entertainment was European entertainment, operas and things like that. Mm-hmm. So what happened, the first original massively popular versions where the whole towns and everyone would come to see was to see people perform in blackface as black people. Like literally, white folks come to sing and do plays and stuff like that in a black vernacular. Mm-hmm. And that took over. And literally, that's the birthplace of American popular culture. A lot of this great songs like This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is Our Land, mm-hmm. was written by a minstrel performer.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
I'm going to go back here to some information that I have in this book. This book is entitled, again, Black America Series, Cleveland, Ohio, by Dr. Regina Williams. And in media, in 1957, we had a lady by the name of Mary Holt, and she was one of the first people on air. And I remember her voice as the music has changed. We also have had, our first was WJW Channel 8, reporter was Pete Carey. We also have a favorite, a hometown favorite is Leon Bibb, and what's the guy at the bottom?
Oh yeah, he grew up with that guy.
Okay.
Leon
Bibb and news anchor Wayne Dawson, who we went to school with. And look at this one guy right there. See, some of our people went to Hollywood and even made big. Leon Isaac in the corner. I don't know if you see him, okay? Okie dokie. And then on WJW radio, we had a disc jockey, Eddie of the OJs. I think that coming up in Cleveland used to be a spot for entertainment. They had their own clubs and things like that, mm-hmm. that was open to the public. And I just remember, and I know a lot of people remember when 105 used to be the spot. When you go down 105, it was a club on every corner, and it was it was club on almost every corner when we were kids, and it was also a church. Mm-hmm. It was a place to eat, and it was a lot of people up and down the street. There was a lot of traffic going down that area. One of the things that we also had that I recall coming up, Cleveland had great people that wrote. So authors. So here's one from East Tech High School, Mr. Chester Himes. It says, his best known work was If He Hollers, Let Him Go, and Cotton Comes to Harlem, that they made into a movie. It's pretty awesome, pretty awesome. They also Cleveland has some of the greatest church pastors that you can imagine. And I'll just throw some of the names out that we have listed here. We have Reverend Calvinist, and we have Bishop Charles Watkins. I just was on those pages. Oh, here they are. Okay. And we had great musicians. Look, Jerry Thomas. Mm-hmm. We had choirs, and I know my son remembered the choir days. The big mass choirs that we had. A lot of things have changed. Oh, here's a name. Anybody that was in Cleveland in the 60s recognized that Bill Sawyer used to do crusades. He used to do the crusades at the stadium, Cleveland Brown Stadium.
Municipal Stadium, huh?
Mm-hmm. At Municipal Stadium, be really huge. Another thing that Cleveland is full of is musicians, okay? Can you mention some groups that came out of the Cleveland area?
Well, you got the OJs and the Leverts and Bone Thugs and Harmony, who
Yes.
sold a ton of records.
Smooth Approach that we just saw this recently, and
Yeah,
like
we got some people. There's a guy. There's lots of rappers and stuff like that. With that being a dominant genre now, but yeah, you had the Rude Boys.
yes.
Yeah.
How about Men at Large?
Men at Large.
Cleveland was putting it out in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Another thing too that we took, this book brings light onto the Stokes era, and if we, being in the 60s, coming up in the 60s kids, I have a personal memory of the Stokes brothers. When they were trying to get Carl Stokes elected into mayor, they used to have meetings at churches. And the brothers would come to the churches and the women would be cooking, and I'll never forget, my grandmother got a hug and she started to cry when he was elected. It was pretty awesome because it was a big deal getting the first black mayor elected into office. And there's also a picture in here, here's Stokes and his wife during his inauguration, picture of the Mr. Stokes and Mrs. Stokes. I thought that was pretty awesome. The whole town went in to get this man elected into becoming a mayor. And it's a picture here of Stokes and Carl Stokes and Martin Luther King after he was elected. We have a lot to take pride in because of Cleveland has come a long way for us, and we have a long way to go. My question to you, sir, when you think about the entertainment in the Cleveland area, do you think we need more entertainment, or do you think we could just support what we have?
Entertainment is just massively different. It's always there. It's always there. There's lots of Cleveland artists out there doing it, being creative. The entertainment industry is massively different now. And
What do you mean?
Back in the day, it used to be kind of certain venues that would kind of unify everybody, right? So like maybe it'd be a venue that's the place where you go to kind of break as an artist, and everyone goes through there. But nowadays, you got the internet. So people, it's delocalized a lot of industry, but you still got spots. Because I remember they used to have a Take 5 spot, had a nice open mic. But I know that Cleveland has a very vibrant, there's lots of great venues where the people come, good acts come, but there's always tons of people doing music and art that's happening all the time.
One of the things, since we're talking about great people in Cleveland, I would be remiss not to mention the Cleveland mayor, Mayor Jackson, African American, trying to do some big stuff up in here, and we need to support him. I also wanted to mention some of our leaders that are pretty renowned. One would be
Marsha Fudge.
Marsha Fudge, yes, you took the words out of my mouth, son. And here was one that was really set the stage. That would have been Stephanie Tubbs Jones back in her time. It's important that we remember these people that set the ground for us. And this lady, I'm showing her book, so you guys need to know who she is. Up here in the right-hand corner is Regina Williams, PhD. I would love for the city of Cleveland to get out here and purchase this book. It would be a very good book to have in your home because it's like she didn't leave too many people out. I couldn't mention them all, but you guys are going to open them up and see.
How did you come?
Marsha gave it to me.
Oh, okay.
Marsha gave it to me. Marsha gave it to me. And I'm just saying, you know, some of the buildings that we have with great people. Oh, I cannot sit here and not mention friends and family. Steve, Broderick Stephen Harvey,
Steve Harvey. Yeah.
Arsenio Hall,
Yep.
our entertainers that have come out of here. We just can't not mention them. Their names go over the airways. I'm just asking you all that when we have people that come into town, let's support one another. Let's support one another. We just had Michelle, and she came, and Brandon. We have great groups still going on here. We have Forecast. We have Russell Thompson. We have Hubs Groove. We have, and you guys, if I don't say your name, please hold it to my head, not to my heart. I just don't have, I kind of get nervous behind the camera, but I just want us to support one another and then keep in mind as to what's going on. We'll grow together if we support one another in our venues. Greg, anything you'd like to say?
Well, let's say we're talking about Cleveland, and I just asked you a question. How's Cleveland changed in the last maybe? How do you see the city changing?
The biggest change that I've seen in Cleveland since I returned is that people have moved out. It's not as full. It used to be a lot more people here. We had a lot more folks living in the homes. We have a lot more, we need jobs. We need people to fill up these houses, and we need to see more children. I think we need a better school system that would bring people in to want to, you know, public schools is real important, especially once you move into a community. You want them to be in good schools. The busing situation has made it where people are seeking out better opportunities for their children, and we got charter school. It's just a lot, and people are leaving for various reasons. It's like the weather. Older people are leaving because it's too cold. Younger people are leaving because of the job situation. And if we could bring people in just to come in, it's a great place. I think it's a lot going on here that's good. I would talk about Wade Over Wednesdays. We have we got the Lake Erie. We got different. I mean,
Yeah. What do you think about downtown? How different is downtown from?
Downtown used to be a hangout spot, so it's kind of like we don't have that anymore. Downtown used to be a place where the kids would be in the square and things going on. But now they got the casino.
Yeah.
So it's like more like a grown folks place than it is where the kids used to go to the library down there. We used to do a lot more stuff downtown, where now it's more of an adult focused place.
Yeah.
You know, they're moving back down there to live and things. So I don't know. Maybe if they brought stores and things. There was a lot of stores when we came up as kids. We had Hallie's Make Company. It was just a lot. But to our audience, I just want to thank you all. We just love you so much. Thank you all for tuning in one more time to People Talk To. This program is for you. It's for you, and we just like to welcome you all to come next Tuesday
At 6:30.
at 6:30. God bless.
See you guys.